Welcome to Dead Time Stories, where we don't just tell ghost stories, we pass them on. And tonight's tale comes from one of our very own listeners, a haunting submission written by Matt Looney called A Grave Duty. It's a story about silence, sacrifice, and what happens when the living forget to respect the dead. If you've ever felt watched while walking alone, this one's for you. The light was fading, same as it always did, low and heavy, like an old quilt settling over the fields. Silas Boone stood alone under a huge old oak in the center of Mercy's field, boots rooted in the brittle grass, watching the sky fall away into dusk. It was his post, and had been for a while now. You see, there are graves beneath the earth in Mercy's field, but no markers remain to identify where the fallen soldiers were laid to rest. They weren't much more than shallow pits dug by hurried hands, then covered by earth and heartfelt prayers. Friends they had been, not much more than boys, really. Boys with mud on their faces and holes in their hearts. Silas stood watch over these young men who had given everything. They had stood once, and he had not. He stood now to ensure that in death they received the respect they deserved. During the day, the field is open to anyone who wants to enjoy it. But when the sun dips low and the fields turn black, the rule is simple. No one walks over the graves of the fallen, not after dark, not ever. He was there to warn folks when they got close, so they had a chance to turn away before it was too late. That night, he heard the young man before he saw him, boots crunching dry weeds, careless and loud. Silas tightened the grip on the old bronze bell in his hand and walked out from beneath the foliage canopy of the ancient tree. Most people kept to the fence line, off in the distance, and heeded the warnings, but this one, a teenager by the looks of it, was walking corner to corner. Silas rang the bell. The sound split the stillness, sharp and cold. It should have been enough to get the boy's attention, but the boy, he could see him now, young, head ducked against the chill, moving quick. He didn't look up, didn't even slow down. Silas felt the ground hum under his feet, the restless stirring of the dead. They knew. They felt him coming. He rang the bell again, harder this time. The boy paused, now glancing up and behind him, uneasy. He heard it, but after a few moments he pressed on, step after step, deeper into the hollow where the soldiers lay resting. Silas opened his mouth to shout, to warn him, but nothing came out. Nothing ever did. That right had been taken from him. There was only the bell, only the cold, piercing ring of that bell. As the boy came closer, the field groaned under Silas's feet. Only he could hear it. The grass bent away from his boots, and he felt it. The old bond, the old oath tightened around him like a noose. "I don't want to do this," he silently pleaded. The boy came to the first grave, and for a moment, Silas thought he would change course. The boy paused. Silas saw him do it. He didn't imagine it. Silas rushed forward to the boy, waving his arms, the bell ringing over and over again. But the boy saw nothing, heard nothing, and continued walking. Silas closed his eyes in defeat as the boy walked over the first grave. He could hear the rhythmic footfalls as the boy reached the second grave. He opened his eyes and watched as the boy, unknowing of the crime he was committing, walked straight over the third, fourth, and finally fifth grave. Silas would have wept had he possessed the equipment to do it anymore. Silas lurched forward towards the boy as the duty itself pulled at him like a marionette, strings jerked by unseen hands. His oath moved him faster than the boy could even think about walking, until he came to stand in front of the young man, facing him with his hand raised. The boy saw Silas appear in front of him out of thin air. He shrieked involuntarily, stopping dead in his tracks. He stopped so quickly, in fact, that he stumbled back, falling to the ground. Looking up, the boy's eyes widened in terror as Silas was on him in an instant. Silas knelt over the boy, inches from his face. The boy shut his eyes, shuddering, expecting that something terrible was imminent. He sat there for what seemed to be an eternity. His eyes still closed, he didn't want to risk opening them, afraid the ghostly sentinel would still be there. But what if he had imagined the whole thing? What if the fading light of day had just played tricks on him? The boy slowly opened his eyes, and to his horror, the ghostly soldier was still there. Still hovering, motionless only inches from him. Too scared to move, all he could do was sit and wait as the spirit hovered. Silas crouched before his unwanted prey, unmoving. Inside, his soul, or what remained of it, struggled. When his unit had come under attack all those years ago, he had run for the tree line, while the rest of his unit had returned fire. Severely outnumbered, his unit was cut down in minutes. His reprieve was short-lived, however. He froze to death in the woods where he hid 2 nights later. After that, there was something else. It was foggy in his memory, and he felt like little flashes of light in the darkness. Someone had spoken to him in death. There had been a deal to be made, a deal to make up for his cowardice, and he had agreed instantly. After that, it could have been days, it could have been weeks, it could have been years. He didn't know. But he found himself standing under that ancient oak tree, his friends beneath the earth nearby, and his one duty clear in his mind. Do not abandon them in death as he abandoned them in life. And as for his penance, anyone who dared walk across their graves in the dark of night was to be added to the number of the dead. In the years since, 7 souls had been taken by him. On the ground in front of him sat number 8. Soul after soul only added to his anguish. Had he only stood with his brothers and died an honorable death, he would be sleeping the sleep of the peaceful dead. Gathering his resolve, he stilled himself. He deserved this for as long as he was meant to do it. Silas reached out his hand, inching towards the boy's chest. The boy recoiled at the specter's outstretched hand, but it was too late. His deathly cold touch burned his skin, then went deeper. His whole chest seemed to be gripped by this unbearable burning. He thought he was screaming, but he could hear nothing. As the boy's vision darkened, his last sight was the ghostly soldier mouthing 2 words. "I'm sorry." Stories like that remind us that some debts don't end at death. Thank you again to Matt Looney for letting us share a grave duty. And if you've got a ghost story, a family legend, or something you've never dared to say out loud, send it our way. We just might bring your nightmare to life. Email it to deadtimestorieshq@gmail.com. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who still walks after dark.